Hi friends, today I'm going to use Judy's Magic Cast On for starting a garter tab shawl, a common way to start a top-down triangular shawl or similar shapes. The things you're going to need are a needle with a cable length long enough to do some sort of magic loop, so I'd say at least a 32-inch cable. Right here I have a 40-inch cable, probably my preference for this technique, especially since shawls get to be pretty long. And then also the yarn that you'll be using. So to do Judy's Magic Cast On, and I'll be doing a very slightly modified version here. But if you look up any directions for Judy's Magic Cast On, you'll see that you want to bring your two needles and hold them together like this, and then have the yarn kind of drape over where the hanging yarn is down the middle, and then you'll bring that towards the back, and then you can hold it as if you're holding your like long tail cast on or similar. I like to hold my finger here to keep that stitch from sliding off. Now we need to even it out here, and so I'm gonna loop from the bottom to the middle here, and now we've got one stitch each here. And so then next I'm going to come around, and normally Judy's Magic Cast On has you kind of go from the outside in. The reason I'm saying modified is because I'm actually going to go from the inside and up and over, and then always from the bottom to the top of the needle basically. And then once we have 3 stitches on there, the pattern that I'm looking at says to go ahead and cast on 3 stitches. So right here I recognize that we have 6 stitches cast on, but it's 3 per needle, and that's what's ideal. So if the pattern were to say cast on 5 stitches, you'd actually cast on 10 total stitches, 5 on each needle. And that's whatever the pattern says. In this particular case, we're looking at 3 per side. Now, in Judy's Magic Cast On, they're going to have you flip the needles over and slide this bottom one across, and that's going to remain the same. Now, what I need to do here, and I'm going to show you right here, I'm going to keep holding on to this end that actually is the end, and that's because it hasn't been secured into place yet. And I'm going to do that with the working yarn right now. So I'm just going to knit, that's why I got to be careful there. And I'm going to go ahead and knit this first awkward stitch. But thankfully, once I've knit that one, it is secure and I don't have to worry about that loose strand anymore. In the pattern, it will tell you knit 6 rows or something along those lines, and so we're going to kind of awkwardly, admittedly, but we're going to knit the number of rows needed. In this case, I'm going to say 6 rows right here, and so that was our first row. Now this one part here, I just personally like to slip my stitches, and I'll show you afterwards. I slip them as if I'm knitting stockinette, even though this part is done in garter, and I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So because that stitch presented like a purl stitch, I'm actually going to slip it purlwise and then move my yarn across. And that's row 2. And I always just go ahead and slip that first stitch. Row 3 right there. Four. And 5. and this will be 6. Okay, and at this point in time, typically the directions will say that we're going to work the next bit by picking up stitches, and so we're going to do exactly as it says. It will say something along the lines of knit across these 3 stitches. So we're going to knit across and then pick up, typically for every 2 rows you pick up 1 stitch for these garter tabs, and so you'll see part of the reason I like to go ahead and slip my stitches is now it's really obvious to me that I can do 1, 2, 3 stitches to pick up. And I'm going to slide my needle up here. Oh, hold on one second. Slight technical error. There we go. And so now I'm just gonna slip my needle into both of those along the kind of V shape right there. Pick up 1, 2, and 3 stitches. And then the great thing about this technique is now I can just knit these 3 stitches along. It'll typically say something along the lines of remove your provisional cast on and knit across these 3 stitches, or some patterns will say pick up 3 stitches along that cast on edge, and instead we were able to just go ahead and knit right across those. And so from here the directions will say begin knitting shawl. Most patterns will have this next row be your wrong side, and so typically the first 3 stitches or however many you cast on, so 3, 5, etc., will be your garter edging, and so they'll be knit, but then the shawl, say it's in stockinette stitch, since this is the wrong side, we'd purl those 3 that we picked up along the edging, and then we'd go back to knitting the last 3. A lot of patterns will also have you go ahead and put in your stitch markers as a setup, and ta-da! We've got your gartered tab.